The turpentine smell was a ghost in Alara's cramped studio, a familiar specter of her poverty. She stared at the canvas on her easel, an original cityscape, gritty and real, born from the view outside her fire escape window. It was good, it was always good, and it was utterly unsellable. On the floor beside her, a final notice from her landlord served as a stark white counterpoint to the vibrant, unappreciated oils around her. Desperation was a cold, sharp needle in her veins. Her eyes fell on an art magazine left by a previous tenant, open to a feature on Julian Croft. His work was pleasant, marketable, hyper-realistic still lifes of glass vases and wilting flowers, rendered with technical competence but no soul. They sold for 5 figures. A bitter taste filled her mouth. She could paint like that in her sleep. The idea, when it came, felt less like a decision and more like a surrender. Her first forgery was a small study, a Croft-esque rendering of a single pear on a chipped plate. It took her a week, not because it was difficult, but because she was perfecting the imperfections, mimicking the specific way his brushstrokes hesitated at the curve of a stem, the exact thickness of his varnish. She took it to the Gilded Frame, a gallery whose owner, a man named Silas with slicked-back hair and a conscience to match, asked no questions she didn't want to answer. "It's uncanny," Silas had murmured, his fingers stroking the canvas edge. "He'll never know." The money was a lifeline. The second forgery was easier. The third, easier still. She became a ghost. Her own talent poured into the hollow vessel of Julian Croft's signature. She was an open secret in a closed, dishonest circle, and for months it was perfect. She paid her rent, she bought better food, and with each transaction, a small, essential piece of her own artistic soul seemed to flake away and vanish. The confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday. Silas called, his voice uncharacteristically tense. "He knows. Croft, he's coming to the gallery. He wants to meet you." Ilara's world constricted to the size of a pinprick. This was it, the lawsuit, the ruin, the end. She imagined a man with cold, accusing eyes, the police waiting outside. She sat in the sterile white back office of the Gilded Frame, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were bone. Julian Croft did not burst in. He entered with a quiet gravity, his coat dripping rainwater onto the polished concrete floor. He was younger than his publicity photos suggested, with a tired, intellectual face. In his hands, he held not legal papers, but one of her forgeries, a small painting of a magnolia blossom. He placed it gently on Silas's desk and looked at Ilara. His gaze was not angry, it was one of profound, unsettling reverence. "Which one of you is the painter?" he asked, his voice soft. Silas gestured to Ilara, his face a mask of nervous sweat. Croft approached her slowly, as one would a skittish animal. "This," he said, pointing to the magnolia, his finger hovering an inch from the paint. "The way you've captured the translucence at the petal's edge, the subtle weight of the pollen on the stamen. I've tried to paint this for 20 years. I've never been able to do it." He looked up, his eyes meeting hers. They were full of a strange, weary awe. "You have done the best work of my career." Ilara could only stare, the prepared denials dying in her throat. This was not the script. "I am not a great artist, Miss Vance," she whispered. "Ilara." "Ilara," he repeated, as if tasting the name. "I am a competent draftsman, a skilled technician. I know how the market works, what sells. But you have found the life inside my own style. You have painted the ghost I could never capture." He gestured around the room, at the other forgeries Silas had stored there. "These aren't forgeries, they are improvements. They are what my work should have been." He paused, letting the absurdity of the statement hang in the air. "I am not here to accuse you. I am here to offer you a job."
A job? The word felt foreign. A collaboration, an exclusive, permanent one. He leaned forward, his intensity magnetic. "You will cease to be Elara Vance. You will become my private painter. You will paint as Julian Croft, with a freedom and a brilliance I have never possessed. I will provide the platform, the marketing, the name. The world will see your work as mine, and it will be the finest work ever produced under that name." Elara felt the floor shift beneath her. The fear was gone, replaced by a dizzying, terrifying vertigo. He was offering her everything she needed: financial security, a platform, recognition in the only way it could be given. And in exchange, he was asking for the one thing she had left: her name. "You want me to disappear?" she managed. "I want your talent to appear on the grandest stage possible," he corrected, his voice hypnotic. "The art world doesn't want a new Elara Vance. It wants a better Julian Croft. This is the only way your genius will ever be seen." He saw the conflict on her face. "Think of the old masters," he said softly. "How many works came from the hands of apprentices in the master's style? This is no different. It is a tradition. You will have a generous salary, a better studio, all the materials you could want. You will be free to paint without the burden of being unknown." The word genius echoed in the silent room. No one had ever called her that. She looked at her hands, stained with the paint she had used to build another man's legacy. She thought of her own canvases, stacked in her dingy apartment, unseen. She thought of the rent, the constant grinding fear. This was her choice: to remain a starving, honest nobody, or to become a wealthy, celebrated ghost. She looked at the magnolia forgery on the desk. It was perfect. It was the best work Julian Croft had ever seen. And in that perfection, she saw not her triumph, but her own exquisite erasure. Elara Vance took a slow, deep breath, the scent of rain and wet wool filling her lungs. She looked Julian Croft directly in the eye, her own voice steady for the first time. "Tell me the terms," she said.